Welcome to Mother-Daughter Projects. I'm Steph.
I'm Vicki. Today we're building a storage unit for paint and batteries.
Now those two items may not seem like they go together, but both those items don't do well with temperature changes, so I actually keep them inside my house.
You might think this is very specific to our needs, but basically we're building a two-sided bookcase, so think about where you could use such a thing in your home.
So come on, let's do this. The wood in this project is 2 sheets of 4x8 material. We decided on 2 sheets of MDF, but plywood or OSB could be used. We spent some time thinking through the cuts we were going to need and made a simple diagram before we made any actual cuts. Since we don't have a table long or strong enough for a 4x8 sheet, we used the garage floor, which we covered with a 4x8 sheet of foam insulation. In this project, we're going to try out our new Makita plunge saw. Here you can see us aligning the track on our cut line and getting the saw placed. And here you can see it magically cut because we forgot to hit the record on the camera and we missed that one. Here we're working on the shelf cuts, and again we lined up the track, and here you go, this time we recorded. A plunge saw is similar to a circular saw, but where it differs is it fits into a track and the blade can be put into the wood at any point, not just on the edge. One of our favorite features is it has a place to attach dust collection, so as you're cutting you don't have all that sawdust getting in your face. Here we're measuring our second side and using our first side cut as a guide.
As you can see, I got a chance to try out the plunge saw and I loved it. Always like to try out new tools to see if I can physically use them, and this was very manageable. The weight was not too heavy, and as you can see, it uses batteries. It uses 2 18-volt batteries, which gives it lots and lots of power and makes nice, straight, even cuts.
For some of our repetitive cuts, we could have used the plunge saw, but we decided to attach our rip cut jig to our circular saw. Here you can really see the kick up of sawdust that happens when you use a circular saw. This is what we call teamwork. Mom was acting as a clamp as I made the cuts. With all the cuts made, we moved on to assembly. The shelf is basically made up of 6 upside-down T-shelves with sides. We set a shelf in place, and Mom created a jig, which is something we can use as a guide when we are trying to get the placement of the middle board. Here you can see me adding pocket holes to the middle dividers. We added 4 to one side and 2 to the other. The bottom of the middle divider was glued and clamped into place. Then we turned over the shelf and used a brad nailer to secure the board in place. We also used Mom's jig again to know where the middle board was when it was upside down. The last step was to add a rail to each side. We glued, clamped, and brad nailed it into place. We glued and screwed each shelf until all 6 were attached together. If you look at my ear in this clip, you'll see that I'm wearing hearing protection, but it's not just hearing protection, it's also a Bluetooth headset, so I can listen to my music while it cuts out the noise from the power tools. I've been using these for a couple months now, and they're made by a company called Isotunes. We're not sponsored by them, but I've really enjoyed it. It's the best noise canceling headphones I've used, and it might be something to check out. When we got to the top of the unit, we drilled 2 holes on the top to run the battery plug cords through. Then we glued and screwed the top into place. Before we put the sides into place, we marked where the shelves would line up on the sides so we knew where the brad nails needed to go. Then we glued and placed the side panels into place and attached with 18 gauge brad nails.
We certainly are not expert woodworkers, so some of our cuts were a little bit off, so we need to do a little sanding, and the rigid battery-powered sander was perfect for the job.
Because we had some wood gaps on the side of the unit, instead of using regular wood glue, we went with Gorilla Glue, which is an expanding glue. This helped fill any small gaps. Then we brad nailed that side into place. With all the battery adapters we were using, there was going to be a lot of cables, and no one wants to look at those. So we tried to come up with a way to disguise the cables and the power strip. So I decided on just a simple box, and that's what I'm making here. I used glue and brad nails to make the box, and then there was a spot where the cable coming from the power strip I wanted it to lay flat. So I used our Dremel multi-tool to cut out the notch, and then I used our Dremel rotary tool to just smooth that out a little bit. And as you can see, it worked great. To attach the box to the top of the unit, we use L brackets instead of permanently attaching it, so if we ever need to remove the power strip, we can do that. We reinforce the bottom with extra boards and attach the casters. We use wood filler to fill in the pocket holes and any other small gaps. One of the more challenging parts was figuring out how to upright the unit without putting undue pressure on the wheels. As you can see, we did it. Here you can see everything in place. The top section to disguise the cables worked out perfectly. We were a little concerned about all the heavy paint being too much for the unit to hold, but it feels very strong and secure. We also added a handle to the side to help when moving the unit. What we learned! So in this project you saw that we used MDF, and it worked pretty well, and I'd just been wanting to use MDF, that's why we chose it, but if I was to do it again, I'd probably just use plywood.
We use casters on this unit to make it movable, but we really could use probably something a little bit beefier to make it even more maneuverable.
Now the rails on the unit, I didn't put too much thought into it, I just decided 2 inches. But they actually seem maybe a little too tall. If I was to do it again, I'd probably do 1 inch, or I might not even use them.
Well, you know, this is a 2-sided bookcase, so it can also function as a little bit secret storage here on the back, or you could use it in a room where you need to store stuff but don't need to get to it on a regular basis. Use one side for kind of that dead storage and the other side for more functional storage.
So if you like this project and want to see more from us, be sure to visit us at mother.projects.com and subscribe right here on YouTube. Click the bell and you'll be alerted to all our new videos. Mom, I feel like something's come between us.
Well, I'm sure
I just don't know what it is.
I'm sure glad it's on wheels so we can move it out of the way.